So the client came to me initially for anxiety. That was the biggest challenge that she was having. So we started to work together, and we did a pattern deconstruction and a pattern reconstruction, and we learned a lot from that. And that's what you're kind of talking about too, right? Is that then she learned she had a choice and such and so on and so forth. And um, we Voxer back and forth. It's sort of like texting. And she had sent me a Voxer message and said, hey, can you help me with sleeping? And I was sort of shocked, right? Because I hadn't worked with anybody yet with sleeping. And I was like, no, I don't even really know. And so I thought to myself, and then I said, well, why not? I'm going to give it a shot. So um, I responded back to her, and then we got on a call and we started talking about it. And anxiety was showing up for her, overall like a visceral experience of, tightness and tension. But it was really this big, it was also spinning, like spinning in the mind, right? Which is something I actually experienced too, where, you're not in your body as much, right? And your mind's just going and going and going, which happens to actually a lot of people. And because of that, right, spinning or spiraling of the mind, then we get confused, right? And then we don't really know what to do. And so these are some of the things that she was experiencing and we had been working on. And she explained to me that she would, be working sometimes late, and then she would go to bed, and then her mind would be going. And then she said, but then sometimes she would go to sleep and then she'd wake up and she'd have that happening. And, we determined that it was this hypervigilance that she had, that's what she called it. That's what we called this pattern for her. It was called hypervigilance. And so we dove into it with cross mapping, and then, we shifted it. And, she basically, chose something different. And it was ease was her big thing, is to come out with ease. And then she made a choice from there of how she was going to handle it. And this has happened a few times. And so the first time she had ease, and I think that she was just going to meditate, like to relax. And that was what she was going to do, right? That was the first time that she experienced it. So all was great. And then she was doing good. And then she came back to me and said, oh, I'm having a struggle again. I'm not sure what to do. And she was at her mom's house sleeping there. And it seemed as though the pattern was about sleeping away from home at times. Other times it was also at home, but with a boyfriend. And that was an issue for her. She was feeling, stressed by that, right? So there was this like underlying fear, right, that was behind it all. So anyway, she was at her mom's house and she wasn't able to sleep. So she didn't think of cross mapping, right? She forgot it, right? So part of our subconscious patterning, right, that takes us out of that. And then, so then she explained this to me. This was on Voxer. And so I had said, until the next night, she was fine. Her mother gave her a pillow. But in her mind, right, in her mind, she's like, I can't sleep if I'm outside my house, or if I can't sleep if someone's in my bed with me. So this was her kind of underlying pattern. On top of, there was another one underlying that of fear, which came out a little bit later. So I explained to her that, because she slept the second night, so, via Voxer, I said, well, you actually did sleep the second night. So it sounds like you were just uncomfortable, right? So that's not that you can't sleep at your mother's house, right? So she was like, oh, it was like one of those light bulb moments. Well, then she had it again where she was with her boyfriend and she felt like she couldn't fall asleep. And she again forgot to cross map. So then the next time we chatted, I explained to her, try to cross map it. So she did. And then she started to realize that she was really in charge of this, and that she could make decisions, or a choice, I should say, that she could make a choice in that moment to do what she needed to do, whether it was, one of them was to actually kiss him. When she was with the boyfriend, her intuition. So going to is like what you were saying, is that her intuition would tell her to kiss him, and they had talked about it, and he was of course fine with that. And then it came up again, she had gotten through that, ended up sleeping, and it came up again. And this is, what happens, right, with our subconscious patterning at times. It's very stubborn and it like hoodwinks us, like you said. And sometimes it can derail us, right, because we're so in it that we don't even see it. And, hence that's why we don't cross map. So then I explained to her again, that's okay, because she was kind of beating herself up about it. And I explained to her that, it's okay, that happens. It happens to me still, and I've been doing this for a long time. And so she was starting to feel ease with herself even more, right? That like, oh, okay, I don't have to like beat myself up about this. I'm going to sort of learn to go with the flow. And then it came up that what was happening is that she was still in one of our sessions, she was still focusing, like, so in other words, if we look at like, choosing this way or choosing that way, she was still focusing like, I'm not really a good sleeper, I can't sleep. And then she would get, so I didn't think I mentioned it, but she would spiral. So spiraling was the big, sort of red flag, if you will. So when we kind of dissected it a little bit more, she started to realize that spiraling was what was taking her really off track, and that the focus was then always that, and it was the focus of the spiraling that she would be stuck in. So she decided that she was going to choose something else, so that when the spiraling came, that her choice was going to be to focus on like what was good that day, all of the good and happy things that happened, as opposed to the thoughts that would get her into this hypervigilant space of not being at ease and feeling freedom and being able to make a choice. So I know it's kind of a long story, but it really just came down to that she was focused on the hypervigilance still, right? And now because of that, she had such a breakthrough on that last time. I mean, she did each time, it's sort of like we take baby steps and then all of a sudden we take a big leap and you're like, wow, it kind of blows your mind. And so this last one like really blew her mind. And then we just finished doing her soul's agenda. And so now she realized at even like deeper levels of, because now she can choose, hers is to be free, which is like really big for her and big in the sense of the awareness of it. And so now she's using free as an addition to ease when she's making her choices. So it's just amazing to watch.